Good. All right, welcome back to the shop, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey there, everybody. So tonight we're going to be forging some tooling under my power hammer. So a lot of you guys have requested a video on it, and so I haven't had the time to do this yet. Let me turn down the music here in my ear. I haven't had a chance to take and do it just yet, make a full video on it, so I figured whoever's in the live stream will take and get a chance to watch what I'm doing. So here recently I just had Mr. Coffee out. I've got a video coming out tomorrow on this where we drifted this 30-pound sledgehammer. Take them down there, Jess, show them the 30-pound sledgehammer. So we did a preliminary drifting. The problem is I need to get a lot larger than what we drifted it to. I need to get to almost 2 inches, so what I'm going to be making is a short 2-inch drift that is oval in shape. So we got our preformed drift here, and so that's what I'll be making tonight. I'll be forging out some H13 inch and an 1/8 H13 stock, like what you see here. And I'm going to be upsetting it right now under the power hammer. So I'm going to get this good and hot. H13 likes to be pretty darn spicy. Muy caliente.
Muy caliente.
Muy caliente.
Welcome, everybody. Looks like we have 21 in attendance so far.
Awesome, awesome. Y'all are going to get a little treat tonight. See a very rare occasion of me actually forging under the power hammer.
Mm-hmm. Thomas D, welcome. Mike G, welcome.
Hello, hello.
Penny Brown, I see you changed your screen name to the new Penny Forge.
Welcome, welcome. Good to have y'all here.
B&B Forge, Coffee's Forge.
Hello, hello.
Would you like me to go ahead and get around you, Roy?
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
I gotta get more heat into this, yeah?
Right, get it hotter.
Oh, yeah.
Spencer Coots.
What's that?
Cockatoo Birdman Bill, good to see you too.
Hello, hello.
Ryan Strong, Brian Neely.
Hello, hello.
Chirpy's Tinkerings.
Chirpy? Don't look, Chirpy! Don't look!
He said, just stopped in for a minute to crash the party and see what everybody's up to.
Well, good to have you here. So I've had to replace you, Mr. Chirpy, with a power hammer tonight.
Yep.
That's alright.
Drayson69 says, my new phone's giving me a conniption fit. Sorry.
Oh, that's alright. So, welcome everyone. So I'll go on to people out here. So I've got the power hammer dies set up right now. Let's come over here real quick. Want to talk about this?
Alright.
So I'm really busy right now at the moment. I've been working, trying to get this hammer done, a lot of other stuff. So if I seem like I'm in a quick roll mode, that's what I'm into tonight. They can get some tooling done. But figure we can do a live stream nonetheless. So I've got my power hammer dies set up. This is about halfway up. It's going to come back down. I've got it set up so I can upset this 4-inch long piece of H13. So I'm going to start by upsetting the piece, and then I'm going to draw it out. So you're going to see me do this a couple times until I get the mass where I want it. I'm going to upset it a little bit, and then I'm going to draw out one end, because I need this to be a taper. I need it to be a very short, blunt taper on this piece. So you'll get to see this here in a minute. One of the great advantages of having a mechanical hammer with a brake and a height adjustment like this hammer has here is the fact that you can adjust the height. So I can make that all the further down it goes. Or I can run it all the way down to where it sits flush on die for working smaller material. So I've just finished making some sledges and stuff this week. Made a hack. Basically a hardy tool, handheld hardy tool to cut off under the power hammer. I've made this underneath the power hammer. This is just a big power hammer flatter. Made this tool right here under this hammer in order to make these. This goes in here and you hammer it out. That way you can keep one side flat and one side tapered. Yeah, a whole host of sledges and you name it. A whole bunch of different tooling. Very, very handy tool is the power hammer. It allows you to make a whole bunch of other tools, and as I've said before, tooling is only as helpful as the tools. You know, power hammers and presses are only as helpful as the tools and the die that you put underneath them. If you don't put good dies underneath them, or if you don't put different things to help and aid you, they just become big wacky things that don't actually do you much good. So, anyways, that's what we're doing tonight. Hopefully we'll get this good and hot. We're almost there.
Yes. All right. Let's see here. Mr. Coffee, he said thank you for the great day with you and your family, and he gave us a $20 super chat.
Thank you, Mr. Coffee, sir. Thank you for coming out and striking for me.
Yeah, thanks for your help.
Like I said, that video will be out tomorrow.
Dana,
so there's a surprise in that video. Don't tell anybody, Mr. Coffee, because they did a great job of editing, but I got injured in that video. So you guys will definitely want to go check that out to see what happened to me. And it was not Mr. Coffee's fault before anybody gives him a hard time. It was just happenstance. That happens a lot, unfortunately. We work in a dangerous field, blacksmithing is. It can be safe, but even with all the right precautions in place, you can still get hurt.
Spencer Koo says, are you kidding? You are the party.
And thank you, Mr. Coffee, for that $20 super chat. $20, right?
Yep.
Okay, make sure. Thank you for getting the ball rolling there. So make sure everybody gives him a hand clap in the comment section for that.
Technomatic, we're only 6 minutes in, so you're not too late.
Nope, you're in good shape.
Drew Jane says, hello Roy and Jess, what size motor are you using to run the hammer?
The motor that's on that hammer is a 2 horsepower. It's a 2 horsepower electric motor from Harbor Freight, running on 110 current. Now, let me give a shout out to Harbor Freight here for a minute. Not sponsored on this video. Their electric motors, you get guys who will say they're absolute garbage, you get guys who say they're great. I'm one of the guys who say that they're in between. If you wire a Harbor Freight motor with 220 current, so 220 volt current, they are great little motors. They will last a really long time. I've got a Harbor Freight motor on my grinder. I have that one's been in there for years, that 2 horsepower on my power hammer. And then I went out and bought, in fact, I bought a really expensive, well, it was an off-brand. It was a Win, W-E-N motor, I think is how they spell it. It was it was a lot more expensive than the Harbor Freights for my press. And the thing's pretty much smoked, let the juice loose out of one of the capacitors within the first week of running with it. So I've had to do some hairy job over there on wiring it. It keeps burning up capacitors. So again, those motors, great for what they are. Knock on wood, they haven't let the juice loose yet.
James at County Line Forge says, good evening, Roy and Jess, and thank you for the $5 super chat, James.
Hey, thanks, James. Be blessed, brother. You're not going to make any money that way if you keep giving me my money back. Hopefully a bunch of other people got on board and supported you there.
JK Canvas, if you would like to send something to Roy, you can mail it to Christ-Centered Ironworks, P.O. Box 315, New Lebanon, Ohio, 45345. And if you didn't get a chance to write that down, you can always go to our website, blacksmithpdfs.com, and just use the contact form there and let us know you're trying to get our address again.
So, this is a bit tall. There's not a lot of hammer stroke. Mechanical hammers like to have stroke. They like to have the whip to them. So you'll find this if you do this in any like Little Giant style power hammers, tire hammers, helve hammers, guided helve, just regular mechanical helve hammers. They like whip. So if you shortchange them on whip, you shortchange them on power, so they don't get as powerful. So we're ready to go here, Hunt. So
all right.
Outside.
Yep. I'm gonna watch from out here. Back for another heat.
So H13 is not a friend of being compressed very easily. And you can see how it had quite a bit of a short stroke. So he's just really just rabbit punching it right now at this point in time. So you need, and if you have a press, which I don't have the press set up to go today, otherwise I would use the press for this initial squish. If you have a press for something like this, and you have a height restriction on your hammer in order to get the whip, that's when I'll go to the press, and I'll use the press to put it down into order, and then I'll go to the power hammer and then work it out from there.
For the Honor Forge says, live demonstration shows dropping recovery techniques, smiley face.
Yeah, plenty of dropping and recovering techniques tonight's stream will be.
Kevin McIntyre asked, are you making something or just demonstrating the power hammer?
I am making something. So I'm making, as I said in the beginning of the video, I am making a 2-inch drift. It's a hammer eye drift. In this particular one, I'm making to be set up to be used under the press. So, questions?
Yes. Chirpy's Tinkerings, he says, so when are you going to come over and let me make you into a machinist?
Well, I look forward to coming over maybe this fall, Chirpy. As far as turning me into a machinist, it's probably never going to happen.
Probably not. Spencer Coots, to answer your question earlier, you asked if that was a speed gun that you saw there. No, I'm actually using a gimbal tonight, so when I'm in the wide version of filming, it kind of shows the corner of the gimbal there, and that's why I switched to the closer up view, so that's not distracting your view. Let's see, somebody asked how we are this week, Roy.
How are we?
Yeah.
We're busy. It's been an exciting time. So, my dad, he had to go over to the VA the other day. He got an inner ear infection, was feeling dizzy and nauseous and all that good stuff, so didn't know what it was. But he was all messed up, so I had to take him over to the hospital the other day, so I didn't get much work done yesterday. And today it was hot, and I had to go sit with him today as well for a little while, so didn't get as much work done today as well. But earlier in the week, got a bunch of orders knocked out the door, so which is good.
Yep.
And yeah, I've got some super critical deadlines that have to be done by the end of this month. So one of those being this big 30-pound hammer.
For those of you who are arriving late, there she be.
Yep. So now I'm going to recommend something here. Unless you have a power hammer or press, I don't recommend working H13 by hand. H13 is very resilient to both impact and abrasion, and it does not like to work and move by hand. Yeah, I mean, you can do some straightening and adjusting, but when you're working with pieces that are this big, it's like slamming your wrists against cold metal. If you you got to keep it pretty hot. But if you get it too hot, like what would be a low temperature, almost a, say a really light welding or just before a welding heat on mild steel, that big yellow, that like lemon yellow you look for, if you get it to that stage, it crumbles. So, you know, you don't want to take and do, you don't want to do that. So you gotta watch yourself and watch your heats.
County Line Forge says, I agree 1,000% on that, Roy. Use power tools with H13. Haha.
Yep. All right, we're hot. Let's go.
All right.
Yep, barely moves by hand.
Paul Fontanini says, I made a hammer eye punch from H13 by hand. It was hard work, but not impossible.
It's not impossible, but if you're going to be making a bunch of tooling, you're going to wear yourself out by doing it by hand. If you've got to do it by hand, get a striker, get a buddy to help you out. There's a little bit, that'll send me into a little bit of a rant here for a minute. There is a misconception that you need to work everything by hand. If you can't work it by hand, grab a bigger hammer and work it by hand. That's completely false. It's a complete farce. And the reason why is because blacksmiths of olden days, for the purists out there, the people that are purists by handwork, blacksmiths of olden days, they didn't work H13. They did not have it. The best they maybe had was 1095, at best. They didn't have all these alloys that we have now, right, of steels. And we get real caught up today because we have all these great illustrious steels, and we figure, well, we can still work them by hand. Just like stainless steel. You should never work stainless steel, in my opinion, by hand. You're asking for wrist problems. So, you know, all that rebound, right, that you supposedly don't take into your wrists and things like that, by loose gripping a hammer handle, when you're whacking and wailing on some stainless steel, all it does is resist every blow that you hit into it because you are not able to put enough compressive force with each hammer blow. So what ends up happening when you work too hard a material or a real serious alloy like H13 and you work it by hand, a lot of times you don't work the core of the material any. You break down the outsides and you get fish lipping and all sorts of other stuff because you can't develop enough by yourself, enough human strength to create the compressive force that you need in order to create the kinetic energy and that compressive force to move the center of the material. So if you can get smaller stock, it's not so bad. But H13, like I said, even hot, moves like regular mild steel at a dull red. So although it's not impossible to do, you probably shouldn't do. And that's from a health standpoint. Now, if you only do it from time to time, if all you do it is from time to time, it doesn't matter. But if you got, say, 15 punches to make or something like that, then you're going to feel a health effect from it. You're going to feel non-benefits to your health. Let's call them that. Non-benefits to your health. So, I don't recommend stainless steel or any of these really high alloy steels to be worked by hand. Again, you can, but they're just going to rough you up. They're going to rough you up, and they just may not be worth it to do by hand. So I'm going to change the height setting on this real quick. You're going to see I haven't shut the machine off any. For safety purposes, you should shut the machine down. And I think we're ready to go.
Ready? All right.
So you can give me any more questions or comments there.
Sure.
If you need them here real quick before I go.
For the Honor Forge, you said you were asking if we were taking prayer requests. If you have one, yeah, let us know, and we'll keep you in prayer.
Yeah.
Penny Brown, thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a good night.
Yeah, good night, Penny.
And Chirpy, he has to run too. He said the men in the white coats were coming back for him, so he had to run.
Good luck, Chirpy. Don't look at him. All right, ready?
All right.
You may want to get closer so they can see the forging too.
Joshua Delisle says, "Hey Roy, it's past my bedtime, but I'm hanging on to see this hammer."
What's up?
Joshua Delisle, he said, "Hey Roy, it's past my bedtime, but I'm hanging on to see this hammer."
Hey Joshua, good to have you in the stream, sir. Thank you for stopping on by. Almost lost the rag there for a second.
For the Honor Forge said his request is this: for his family and I to keep their tempers under control so that they can deal with all the incoming stresses of moving, deadlines, work, and finances. Oh, and that the kids be good.
Yeah, we always need good prayer for that. Count it done there for the Honor Forge.
Mike G says our baby girl is listening to you, hammering away, almost 3 weeks old already.
Woo! They grow quick. They grow quick.
Is she smiling yet? I know they start smiling really young. Joshua Delisle said, "Yay, you said my name." Tekran Maddox says, "How are you finding the new dies, Roy?"
I like them pretty well. They're not completely set up where I would love them perfectly. Take this off here. I would love to have about, I'd say about an extra 100 pounds of RAM behind those dies. So I would love that. The die size is working good. Everything's holding up well. I like that size of die. Seems to be pretty utilitarian as far as to use tooling on it. And so I've got it set up to do tooling. So that's what I've been making. I've been working on making some tools for it. And to help basically to help with what I do. Come on this way, hon. Don't be afraid.
Don't be
Get
shy.
up here so they can see.
All right.
So Really nice broad dies like this. I'm liking this so far because with the broad dies you can set tooling on there. See? Now these are held by hand, which is okay, but if you see here I've got a place for a saddle, so I can put tooling in here that has a hardy shank and spring fullers to go in there. Or I can make saddle-like tooling that slips up in here and grips the dies and is bolted in right here. I don't know if you can see any of this. Are you be able to see any of this? Make sure I'm in spot. Okay. So you can put a hardy shank in here onto your saddle die tooling, whatever it be. Say it's a fuller, or say it's, you know, a progressive fuller or swedge block or something like that that you make for this die, and then you can get it all the way across here. Where I say I wish I had about another 100 pounds behind these dies here is, again, it would just give it a lot more kinetic energy for the size dies. Now, the other thing I wish is I had more stroke. So up here, honey.
Alright.
Here we go. Here, I'll do it. So
Okay.
you tell you. Woo! So the other thing I wish that I had was more stroke. Right up here, there's a problem. I've got a max clearance of stroke from there to there, and that I don't like so much. So I wish there was more stroke that I had. And then obviously some bigger dies, bigger anvil, and things like that. This was meant to really be a temporary setup, and so far I've just got it temped in. My new power hammer that I'm building will be this size or bigger. Most likely bigger.
Also, there's a question from What the Forge Blacksmithing. What steel is best for pressed dies?
For press dies, I would choose something. You could maybe do something like an H13, something that's good compressive strength. Presses have a problem with soaking up heat out of material. And so if you do something where you put in dies, say they're like 1045s, or this has been in my experience, and you're doing quite a few things with it, the 1045s or 1095s, if you don't keep them cool, which a lot of people don't, because you know you put the press dies in, you keep them in there. If you can't keep those dies cool, they start getting sweet spots in them pretty quick because of the pressure and the heat of that press. I like heat-resistant steels. S7 would be good. H13 is good. I've heard there's other types out there that you can get, but if you're going to make something repetitively, and I mean repetitively, like so say you're going to have combo dies that are just going to live in the press, I'd make them out of H13. Save your time messing around with the other tool steels and make them out of some H13 if you can. If all you've got on hand is 1045 or 1095 or what have you, do with whatever you got on hand.
For the Honor Forge says, would 1018 be fine for pressed dies?
1018, like that's your standard mild steel. It can for short run stuff. For instance, this I just got done forging. This is mild steel. This is just 1018. This is just a swedge block. Pieces are coming out very hot, but I'm using this under the power hammer. If I was using this under the press, I would go with a 1045 or 1095. Mainly because I'm not going to be using this that much. I'll use it on occasion, and it'll really just be for like cleaning up heats and things like that, not serious heavy forging. But anything that you've got an edge, or something that's biting material and trying to work and forge out material, if you don't make it out of an impact or a compressive resistant steel, like an abrasive type resistant steel, you'll eventually wear a little sweet spot in the die itself. And so instead of having perfectly square dies, they'll start having they'll start as nice and flat like this, and then slowly but surely wear a sweet spot in the center of them like that, or wherever you use it the most.
Do you have time for another question?
Yes, one more, and then I got a hammer.
All right, Dennis LaCourse says, Roy, what do you think of a brand new anvil made from 4140, heat treated to 56 HRC? Question, is the new better than old Peter Wright's mouse hole, butting, etc.?
Well, that argument could get started one way or the other. If you're a nostalgic person, go with the older tooling. If you're talking about brand new, they're going to be way better. They just are. Their standards are higher right now on anvils and stuff. That's not always the case. It depends on the manufacturer, but I mean, you're talking 4140 heat treated 56 Rockwell, and it's probably a range. It's probably between 54 and 56 Rockwell. Most old anvils, you're going to be looking at somewhere in the 50 to 52 Rockwell range on most of their stuff for hardness wise. And they do it by a different scale too. Sometimes they harden them by a different scale. Most of you don't, some people don't know that, but there are different scales on the Vernal scale of hardness. C, Rockwell C, is one of the hardest on that scale. So if it's a 54 or 56 Rockwell C, it's going to handle up probably to anything you throw at it, except for maybe H13. If you miss a piece of H13 tooling on it, it's going to outlive you. It'll outlive your grandchildren, it'll outlive your great-grandchildren, and their great-great-great-grandchildren. It'll outlive, so...
Long time.
Good tooling. Same thing can be said about the older equipment. If you can find good old tooling, you should try your best to salvage it. If you can afford it, instead of it going to a scrap heap somewhere and you can put it in use the good old tooling. But if you can't afford it, or, well, I'm assuming if you're buying a brand new anvil, you can buy something home. If you're doing professional if you're professionally trying to pursue things, then I would suggest getting newer equipment if you can, once you are ready. It just helps with the finish and stuff.
All right, ready to head over?
Yep.
Curiosity Forge, we're glad you're able to make it to one of our live streams. Yeah, we've been doing live streaming for quite a while. And Len Bradstead, glad to have you. Hope you're having a good evening.
That's what happens when you shortchange the amount of stroke you got. I forgot I didn't set the dies back up.
Uh-oh. Stick it back in the fire.
You know what? I may just do something here. We're going to leave that just like that and run for now. Pull it out. Give me a second.
Alrighty. He is over there adjusting something. Donald Roberts. He said, I'm going to have to get out of forging. It's catching up to my health-wise. My oxygen hose in my nose is getting too risky. I'm thinking about getting more into woodworking. Well, you got it to do. I mean, woodworking, I'm sure that's a fun hobby too. Definitely less dangerous. Joshua Delisle says your power hammer sounds a little bit squeaky.
Just a little bit. The belt's kind of getting a bit wore now. It didn't squeak as bad when I first put that belt on there. But that belt's been on there for 2 years now. That belt's been on there for 2 years now. It's time for me to change it up. gonna let that warm up for a minute.
Okay.
Questions?
All right. Frank Stroff, welcome.
Frank, good to have you in the house, sir.
Let's see here. Curiosity Forge says, I may or may not be into nostalgia. I spent my whole day doing restorations on 100-year-old plus wrenches.
And I take it that was not fun for you?
He also said, normally I have to be somewhere from 7 to 9 p.m. on Friday evenings. Back pain has me sidelined currently.
I feel you there, brother. I know how the whole back pain thing works.
Big Mickey, good evening to you as well.
Who?
Big Mickey.
You'll have to speak up, Jess.
Okay, Big Mickey.
All right. Well, you guys get a bonus. You get to see the press running.
Yeah. Graham, glad to have you. See, Graham.
Graham, good
Yep.
to have you. So a lot of the power equipment in my shop is going to change over the next year or so. Designing a new press to replace that press completely. Designing it, well, I've already got it designed. I just have to put it in action, actually going out and getting the material and choosing the time to do it for a new power hammer. So that'll be getting made this year as well. I'm going to put a hold on my pneumatic power hammer as I'm going to go ahead and build my 400-pound ram weight power hammer first for my shop hammer. So that's a big hammer. But will be well worth it. Got it?
Yep. Curiosity Forge says, I'll dispose of your old press for you responsibly. I won't even charge you for the service.
Yeah. As long as you've got a cutting torch in hand when you come out with it, I would allow you to do that. Alright, I'm going to go over the press.
Alright.
Step outside the shop, you're out of the way.
Alright.
Shut it off for a minute.
Alright.
So let me talk.
It's a wee bit noisy.
Just a little bit.
Kevin McIntyre says, what is the ton rating on the press?
37 tons. You could probably derate that a little bit just from goofiness and some things like that. I would say, because I never really run it full out, I would say probably mostly closer to about 30 tons. Even though it's got 37-ton RAM and it's got all the hardware and everything associated with 37 tons, or that can handle that much, it derates a little bit just because I don't push it as hard as I could. That's probably closer to like a 30-ton tank. That sounds weird, but you have to kind of figure out whether you're really giving it to its full degree of pressing, right? Whether it's kicking into that second stage with the 2-stage pump that it has. Kind of matters. What's up?
Dennis Liquor says, Roy, do you ever get or have elbow problems from use? I do from previous use, and it doesn't even bother me when swinging a hammer.
Use from what? Power hammers, presses. Power hammers, yes. If you don't hold the material right and off in the slightest and you're catching the blows of the hammer, yep, you're going to have elbow issues for sure. If you're not it's one of the things I'm going to correct in my next power hammer, my next shot, is the way I stand at the power hammer. I'm actually going to put in a bit of a sand bed around the power hammer that I stand in specifically. And the reason for that in the power hammer is going to be segregated from the shop floor completely. And the reason why is because even though there's a rubber pad underneath it and things like that, you still feel that kinetic energy coming up through your legs and hips and stuff. Because you can feel it thump here on the floor. I don't know. Jessica can feel it thump.
I can feel it outside the shop, yeah.
Yeah, she can feel it even outside the shop, so. Hand hammering, if done wrong, or too heavy of a hammer, can damage you. If you put under a power hammer, come here, I'll show you here in a second. I'll just show you. So say you're forging on something like this, okay? Say you've got this bar in hand, right? And you're forging underneath it. And I'm going to show you diagonally from the dies, just so you can see it. Can they see it? Mm-hmm. Okay? If you're nice and flat, everything's going smoothly. If you get like this, you catch it like that. It teeter-totters like this. So if you're up like this, as soon as it slams down, you're going to catch all that in your elbows. If you're up like this, you're going to jerk and you're going to feel it all in your shoulders. If you're up like this and it comes down on that, you're capturing the weight of that ram and all that kinetic energy right in your shoulders. So you're going to have a lot of joint pain. That's why it's important to make sure that everything comes into the power hammer nice and flat and square with the dies, and to make sure that you have a really loose grip. I'm not manhandling this as tight as I can hold these things when I'm trying to forge underneath here. I've got a very, can I see my hand?
Yeah.
I'm over here. I have a very light grip on this. Just enough to make sure it doesn't just, fall out onto the ground, but I got a very light grip on this. If you're using something like this and it's this short, it should never be this short, but say you've got a solid piece of bar stock, again, holding it in hand like this, you're going to take a lot of that kinetic energy and reverberations through the stock into your hands. So that's why you'll see some guys who work under power hammers all the time, they'll weld a small little bar onto a large piece, and then they'll take that and they'll just grip it with tongs, because the tongs give you somewhat insulation from that shock of that bar being worked. Hopefully that helps you. I don't know if that answered the question.
He actually said he was referring to hand hammering. Using a hand hammer all day, not power hammer, sorry.
Okay. Using a hand hammer all day, no. I don't have any problems with that, because I swing it like the good Lord intended. I'm being cantankerous with that, but No, the important thing with hand hammering is hammer selection, in my opinion. And this is where I'll go definitely in my opinion. Opinion. Everybody's got one, right? An opinion. 3 pounds is about as large as I care to swing by hand for any length of time. Because that's all I can do by swinging out at the end of the hammer handle. If I swing something like this hammer, this is to knock a drift that's being a pain in the butt out of a hammer handle. But you're not going to see me swing and draw out material all day with this thing. Why? Because it's unruly if you hold it out here. It's hard to pick up and put down, so you have to hold it up here. And when you hammer on something, look at that arm. That's a loose grip.
Yeah, you can see your
Can you see the arms moving?
Yeah.
And people will say, oh no, you keep a loose grip, you won't get no problems at all. Malarkey. Malarkey. So you're going to catch the rebound of that hammer. That hammer is going to be suppressed by your wrist and your joints, and it's going to come right up through your arm as you're coming down. One of the other issues that guys do, this isn't from a big hammer perspective, this is from a lightweight hammer perspective. Guys that work with too light of hammers for themselves, say something like this. It's got this little tiny hammer handle on it. This is never meant for anything big. This is literally just for me to peen rivets in lock work. It's not meant to forge with. But you'll see people go into town with a little 8-ounce hammer, and they'll have it all the way out here, and they'll be just whipping it as hard as they can. But what happens is, if you look at this, see my hand? See that arm take that shock? It's pulling on these fingers right here. Because they're coming up short when they swing, because they're trying to get that snap at the end. Because it being a light hammer, they're trying to get that extra whip at it. And if they don't finish out the hammer blow, which is a habit not to with a little light hammer, because you see in it making that little crack and moving the little bit of material, you're like, woohoo, it's good. Because it's not a heavy hammer, you're just trying to, you don't have a lot of follow through, and it pulls on these fingers here and causes you tendon problems as well. So it's finding the right balanced hammer for yourself. There's some people that claim they swing 6-pound hammers all day with not a problem. They can catch up with me in 30 years. We'll see if they're still swinging 6-pound hammers all by them, little lumps all day long. Most of those guys have power hammers. Most of those guys have presses in their shop, especially if they're doing it for a living. So if they say that they're swinging a 6-pound hammer, it's usually them at the anvil straightening up something at the anvil. So you're talking maybe 100 blows throughout the day they're using that 6-pound hammer for. So that's a wee bit of a rant there. Not really, but you asked. So joint pain, I already have a bad case from what I've previously done in my life, when I was doing heating and air conditioning work and not paying attention and not listening and not wearing proper PPE and things. I have 2 problems. One, I'm deaf. I'm deaf to low tones. So if you talk real low, I can't hear you. I just can't hear you. I see your lips moving, but no one's home. Right? Low tones, if I got to speak, that's why I sound so loud on camera, is because I do have some lower tones in my voice, and I can't even hear myself talk. So I have to speak up in order for me to hear me. That came from climbing inside ductwork during HVAC and using a Sawzall without any hear protection inside ductwork to cut out big, large, it was a commercial job, Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. So that came from that. The other problem that I have is there's these things called drive cleats or S cleats, whatever you want to call them. Basically, they're a thin piece, they look like an S. They're a piece of sheet metal that's tripled over, and it's made to join 2 pieces of ductwork, and you screw them together. Well, those, I was always told, don't finish out the cut when you're squeezing with a pair of tongs, right? All that squeezing work. Don't finish out the cut on that, because that snap at the end will give you a tendonitis or give you a carpal tunnel. Didn't listen. That's just because you're a sissy, right? And, well, so I started into doing blacksmithing with a case of carpal tunnel already on its way. I did not help matters any by swinging a 8-pound, well, before this is 8 pounds. Before this, I don't even think I have it over here. Yeah, I do. I would swing this by myself whenever I needed material to be moved, and it seemed like I needed it all the time to be moved quicker than what it was going with a hand hammer, regular hand hammer. So I would work relentlessly with this thing, and this is a 12-pound hammer. Yeah, ooh, tough guy, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well,
Paid for it.
no sensitivity in hands now. Real tough guy, right? Real tough. So don't do that. Find the right hammer that's the right size for your body. If it hurts you to use whatever hammer you're using or grip, take a little video of yourself and analyze it for yourself. See where you're at. And then have it reviewed by somebody who swings a hammer, and I do mean swings a hammer every day. Not somebody who swings it on a weekend warrior situation. I'm talking somebody who swings a hammer every day. Look at a farrier that swings a hammer every day. Go talk to them and see their feelings and thoughts on hammers. Most of them will tell you that a lighter the hammer is a better way to go. Usually within that 1 to 2 pound range is a good all-day multi-purpose forging hammer.
See, there's a few comments from a few minutes ago. I'll go ahead and read.
Okay.
Joshua Delisle says, I miss my big kit. You've made me want to build a hammer for my tiny workshop. Would be very handy for long tapers and tenon joint forging.
Yes, it would. By the way, I just wanted to shout out Joshua Delisle here. Sorry, I just messed up your name there, Joshua. He's got a YouTube channel that I really think would be good for you to go over and check out and subscribe to if you guys get a chance, if you're not already a subscriber of his. He's trying to put out a good amount of content. In fact, he's had to rebuild life a little bit, and he used to have a nice workshop and a good bit of kit, as he said, with a nice power hammer and stuff. He's got videos on that and how things changed and whatnot. And he kind of built a small shop from scratch again in his backyard. I think in his garden, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely worth checking him out. I don't know, I'll probably put a link in the description down below after this is over with. That probably could be good, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah? So, anyways, I just wanted to recommend him. I like his content. I like his stuff. You keep up the good work, brother. Be blessed out there. And if you want to build small power hammers that'll work, maybe check out a few of my power hammer designs that I've come up with over the years. The Hardy hammer might be perfect in your situation. You might be able to build something along those lines to be real space conscious.
County Line Forge says, Roy, have you ever had a time when all your finished work is put on hold because you're waiting on your abrasive delivery? Like every week?
Yeah. Well, I'm my own delivery, so I just shifts. I become the delivery boy, the errand boy, or whatever, and I have to go run and get those things. So.
Tekran Maddox said, had a play forging under a fly press at a mate's workshop last week. Very impressed with how much can be achieved with a few different dies.
Oh yeah, a lot can be done. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and work this under the power hammer real quick.
All right.
Switch it up. See if I can do that. Out you go.
All right.
So I'm mostly to dimension now. There's going to be a little extra cleanup work I got to do. But instead of having to hold on to this little bit, I'm going to go real quick and weld on a handle to this. I'm going to go real quick and just put a little weld on there for a little handle. So this way I can put it in my swedge tool here and round this piece up in its tapered form. That way I can round it up and keep it to the dimension that I'm looking at staying here.
All right.
I'm going to weld this real quick, hon, so
Okay.
you can stay put, is what I'm saying.
All right. We will stay over here then.
You might want to stay out of the shop.
Okay.
Good to go.
All right.
So, this is actually a little bit of a glimpse into my workshop, the way I work during the day. Everything is within arm's reach, and I am focused on trying to get the job done. So, there's none of this kind of fancying around and spending 6 hours on tooling here or 8 hours on tooling. I do what I can, I do it as fast as I can, and I'll usually have 4 or 5 pieces at once going, whether they be in the coal forge. I might have the coal forge running and the gas forge running, depending on what I'm doing. Certain circumstances, the coal forge is better to work in because it puts an intense heat right where I need it. But other instances, if I got a whole bunch of billets like this, something where I'm heating the whole piece up and I don't need directional heat, I'll just throw them in the gas forge and let them run. But while they're working, I might be chopping off material, I might be welding something up, might be grinding material, getting burrs cleaned up, things like that. So there's a bit of a production flow in a shop, in a professional shop, or should be, to a degree. There should be. So if you want to stay in business and want to stay efficient, you have to keep moving. Mm-hmm. So my days when I spend 8 hours, 10 hours, or 12 hours out here, I'm always moving. I'm always moving and doing something. Never a dull minute.
Billy Strong, thank you for the $2.99 super chat and encouraging people to hit the like button.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate that.
Spencer Coots asked, where did you get your gas forge?
I got that at Quad State. The brand, the manufacturer of gas forge, it's called a Menkel gas forge. M-E-N-K-A-L-K-A or K-E-L, I can't remember. Anyways,
E-L or L-E?
No, it's M-A-K.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
M-A-N-K-E-L. Menkel. I think, yeah. Ugh. Words and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good forge. I recommend them. I don't know if they're still in production or what the deal is, but it's a good forge.
Joshua Delisle says, I want to stay in chat, but it's 1 a.m. here and I need to get some sleep. Bless you, Roy, and everyone, and catch up again soon.
Hey, bless you, Joshua. Have a good one. Once again, everybody, go subscribe to Joshua if you get a chance. He is definitely worth the watch. He's done some really neat stuff. Really appreciate him.
William Barnhart, thank you for stopping in.
Thank you.
Frank Strock says, isn't it kind of dangerous to have that hand hammer bouncing around in the power hammer frame?
Hand hammer.
Oh, where you have that resting over there.
Not really, Frank. Reason for that being is it's going through, so it's like in its own slot. There's nothing that comes and hits it, so to speak. It just lives there. In the 2 years that it's been up there, well, I had a different hammer up there before, just a little lightweight hammer. In the 2 years it's been up there, it's never bounced out, ever. Mm-hmm. So it would be nicer if I had like a place that I hung it. Might weld some brackets on there. Once again, I'm changing that whole hammer anyhow here lately. But that's a good consideration, Frank, to think about. Also, another thing on power hammers, power hammer designs, things like that. If you can enclose this spring hide any of this material here, or put any of this in a cage or something like that, you'll be far better off. Reason for it being is if you're not paying attention, you get yourself in the belt, people get wound up in machinery all the time. It's just worth the extra caution type deal. If I were to redesign this hammer, I've got plans for this hammer, and those plans basically have it set up exactly like this. People wanted this exact hammer to be written up, so that's what I wrote up. But if I were to do it again, this here would be down lower, would be down a lot lower. That way it kept it out of the bar stop area, so there'd be less danger here. And I would also shroud it to where this would not be in the way. There wouldn't be a belt that could possibly, you could get a piece of clothing or something tangled up with. I mind my manners around power equipment all the time. And anytime you're on a piece of equipment, whether it be a press, a power hammer, in a buddy shop, a belt grinder, anything that whirls and turns, drill press, lathe, you name it, that piece of machinery does not care if it's eating metal or eating flesh. It doesn't care. So always treat it with the utmost respect and authority that it has in your shop. Always. Don't get comfortable. You'll see guys dancing and playing around. Don't do that. It's a good way for you to be called Stubby Fingers McGee or Stumpy or Thumpy or something. Somebody's going to come up with a nickname for you, and it's going to be because you're missing digits or limbs. So don't do it. It's not worth it. Also, another thing I see a lot of guys doing, if you're building presses out there, you're beginners and you're building presses, I don't care if they're air over hydraulic, they're hydraulic presses, this, that, what have you, do not, and I do mean do not stand in front of your dies. Do not ever stand in front of your dies or the piece of material being worked. There's material. I'll just go over here real quick just to showcase this. Whenever you're working under a press, I see guys all the time with a piece of steel, whether it be a hammer billet or something, just like that. Working a piece, a knife blade, a piece of Damascus, or whatever. All it takes is for that thing to kick out, those dies to kick out, and you have 37 tons of pressure. 37 tons. Somebody do the quick math of what 37 times 2,000 is. That's how many pounds per square inch you've got shoving through your guts. I don't care if you got abs like Superman. Even Superman wouldn't stand in front of these. Mm-hmm. They will kill you. You're asking for it. Stand off to the side. Never get in front of the dies. Never get in front of the dies. If this is running, don't get your hands between the dies. Use a brush, a broom, or something like that. Running power hammer. Don't go wiping your fingers through there, because you never know that one time when you wipe and it goes 250 beats a minute on your fingers.
Spencer Coote says it's 74,000.
There. 74,000 PSI. It takes about 4 PSI to puncture human skin. So think about that.
William Barnhart says, I was almost named Stumpy. I got a finger with a saw. It wasn't really bad. It definitely could have been.
Yep.
I got a finger a bit with my angle grinder and a cutting wheel too. Should have had my glove on.
That'll happen to you. Again, power equipment's no joke. It's not fun and games. It's time to be serious around them when you're around them. And just have ample respect for them and you'll be fine. You'll be perfectly fine. Alright, so I'm going to round this up.
Okay, power hammer.
Yep. Out you go. So what I'm doing here is, so I rounded it up, and now I'm going to turn it into an oval. So I'm going to squish this down. So I'm going to take one last heat on it, turn it into an oval, and then I'm going to show you guys a quick pair of power hammer tongs that you can make if you got a power hammer. You can do it by hand as well.
What the Forge Blacksmithing says, Jess, when will you be forging again? We don't have it planned out or anything exactly. I do have an idea for a project when we do get to it though.
Bored of me already. I see how it is. Guy shows you how to work under a power hammer and bored of me already. What else we got? Questions, comments, complaints?
Yes, William Barnhart says, the funny thing with the saw accident is that I was working on a steel gauntlet. Now that's just irony right there. Something for protecting your hands.
Included. Irony.
Irony. Curiosity Forge, does anybody else feel like there should be a squeaky toy on top of the upswing of that thing? Graham Pepper says, I had a Rogue angle grinder come out of the vise yesterday.
A road piece, or the angle grinder that you locked in the vise to use is an inappropriate, not specific use of an angle grinder. Shirt in here.
Brian Neely, Jess with project plans of her own. Yeah, I'm a planner and I like writing stuff down. So back in the earlier part of this year when I made the meat skewers, I actually jotted down a couple of ideas that I thought I could do. And so yeah, they're still sitting on my pile of paperwork. Graham Pepper said the grinder.
Ah, the grinder, yeah. I've done that before and had that mistake happen before. There are things you can do, ways that you can make that where it'll lock in the vise and you can use a grinder like that safely. But you usually have to fabricate a piece. What's up?
What the Forest Blacksmithing says, Roy, you are too pro, harder to relate for us newbies.
Well, that's all right. Yeah, it is. That is one of those things where, you know, there is a disconnect between what I do that I think is simple and what newbies are struggling with. So it's kind of a difficult balance when you're a teacher to kind of just not skip over stuff. So yeah, a little bit of disconnect can happen. As where with a beginner, it's like there's beginner experience, but there is also a subject where you can watch too many beginners do stuff, and it's the blind leading the blind. So you gotta be careful of that as well. You don't want to be in that situation where you're the smartest cat in the room. You're the smartest guy in the room. You need to find a new room to be in, right? So. It's good to hang out with like-minded people that know about what you do and have about some of the same similar struggles. But then it's also much more helpful to hang out with people who knows what they're doing. That's kind of why I go and take classes with Tom Latney. He knows way more and has probably forgotten way more than I'll ever know about blacksmithing. So, you know, I come from a different time and a different era and generation. Him and Peter Ross, Clay Spencer, and things like that.
So we're down to about a quarter of a battery, so we'll probably have about maybe up to 20 minutes remaining.
Okay. Did you want to get out one of the power banks and see if you can do the power bank in it?
I could always hand hold it, yeah. It would be a little jerkier, but it'd be all right.
All right, I'll put the final touch on this, then we'll go over the power here. You want to step out?
Yep.
And then I'll do the tongs.
Okay.
Good enough. So now it's an oval. Everybody see that? Or is it too hot?
Yeah, we can see it. There you go.
That should be an appropriate size I'm needing. it is. We're good to go. So this here, I'm just going to leave this hang out of the way somewhere that I can find. Probably just hang it right back here. Let that hang out there to cool. And I'll show you guys these tongs. You should like these pretty well.
Kevin McIntyre asked if this is for the 30-pound hammer. The drift.
Yes, the drift's for the 30-pound hammer. When Mr. Coffee was here the other day, I didn't have the proper drift for this, so I'm making it now, basically. Okay, so the layout of this is going to go as follows. Go over here. Go over here, babe. Now I find if you're trying to mark up round bar with measurements, it is much easier with round bar to just go ahead and use a nick wherever you're going. Don't cut in deep, you're just wanting to put a nick in it. It's easier to do round bar this way. So we're going to set off about 2 inches from one end for the nib. We've got a nick there. See it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We got 2 inches from the end. Then we're going to want to set off an additional 2 inches for the boss area. And 5/8 round, by the way. It would be better done in 3/4 round if you're wanting a little, if you're doing on a power hammer, if you're wanting a decent size pair of tongs out of them. 3/4 would give you a lot more mass to play with once you start squaring things up for heavier material work. This will work just fine. So. Alright, so there's our layouts.
Mm-hmm.
Good?
Yep, good.
Good. Set that one off the side. Throw that one in. And get her hot.
Alrighty. Rock Mike says, I really enjoy making tools. Looking forward to your upgrades.
Yeah, they're going to be nice. Some of the different upgrades I'm doing for it. The power hammer especially, I'm looking forward to getting around to that. I've been needing a lot larger power hammer for quite some time. I just haven't had the time to basically do anything about it. I've been wanting a larger power hammer for a real long time, but just haven't had the time to do something about it. So I'm going to be making some time this winter for that specific point. Pair of tongs I need for these right now offhand, so we'll just do it the way it is.
Alrighty. Tekra Maddock and William Barnhart, have a good evening.
Hey, have a great evening. Thanks for stopping by.
Did you want me to plug in, by the way? Or are we just...
Huh?
Did you want me to plug it in?
If you want to, yeah. I mean, how much time do you think we have left?
Probably about 10 minutes, probably.
Okay. Go ahead and try to plug it in real quick. That way I don't get cut off just midstream of this, so
Okay.
you can.
Alright, it's gonna get a little jerky here for a second.
Thank you everybody who stopped in the stream and is continuing with us. So, also at this point, I should have probably said it earlier in the stream. Did you shut off the power to that?
Yes, I
The
did.
gimbal?
Yep.
Okay. I should have probably said this a lot earlier on in the stream. You need to plug that into a power bank so you can have free access to it. Here, watch out.
Okay.
Step around, please.
Alright. you very much.
Nope. Okay. Should have said this a lot earlier in the stream. So there's some misconceptions about whether we're doing these streams anymore. We are still doing these streams. We will still be doing live streaming. The problem with the internet has knocked the wind out of our sails for doing the real high quality streams, multi-camera angles using our Lumex G7s. Now, I just did a video that will be coming out sometime Monday where I had talked a little bit about that and how that's going to change. We are probably going to start reducing the streams at some point down to every other week, just so this way it stays a little more consistent with our own lifestyle. So we're going to be doing that at some point. And will it not sit in the gimbal with that plugged in?
If I flip it 180 maybe.
Alright, it's fine. It's just,
Okay.
I was just asking a question.
Okay.
Anyway, so we will probably adjust the streams to fit our schedule a little bit. Maybe towards the winter. A lot of times in the winter we get a little extra time available to us, and we may bring them back up to pace come the first part of next year. Bring them back up to where we do them every week. But we gotta make hay while we can make hay first. All right, you're gonna need to be over here so you can see what I'm doing.
All right.
Okay, so this is how these tongs go. They're really simple. You can make them a whole host of different ways, but just kind of keep an eye on what I'm doing here. So I'm going to set it to that second tick mark that we made. I'm going to lock it in the vise and I'm going to bend it at not quite a 45-degree angle, probably a 30-degree angle. And then I'm going to go to the power hammer with it. I'm going to start forging it down, and what I may actually do, I told you wrong on that. It's going to be the first tick mark, sorry. First tick mark, I'm going to bend it at a 30-degree angle. Second tick mark, I'm going to bend it opposite of that to a 30-degree angle, and then we're going to the power hammer to flatten things out and whatnots. So I'll go ahead and adjust these dies down. This way they fit a little nicer. Put on the power.
Eric Metal says, appreciate greatly the valuable insight.
I am glad you enjoy it. Oh, wrong one. See, almost did it to myself, didn't I? Do this one first. Hopefully you guys can see that. Good?
Yeah.
So now this will go all the way through to that tick mark. It's on the other side. We're going to get that as a pre-form. See that?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to heat that up again. You're doing the other one, you do it the same way. Knock, knock. Now you can do this by hand and with a striker if you want. It works good. Use a striker and a flatter or set hammer to do this work with. Questions?
Sure. Let's see, Rock Mike, he said it was 107 there today. It's a good day to be laying inside watching a stream. And he wishes he was laying in a cold stream of water.
I wish the same. It's still quite spicy here in Ohio.
Granddad's Forge says Roy looks a little like Mickey Mouse when he has his earmuffs up. By the way, has your phone ever shut off from getting too hot?
Not really.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? I can read them off for you while Roy's getting this heated up. See, Rock Mike reminds everybody to smash the like button.
Yeah, make sure you smash that like button. Now
John,
this is a quick pair of power hammer tongs. They're not the prettiest type tong in the world. In fact, they're quite ugly. Look bulky, things like that. It just depends on how much time you want to spend making them. These here, you don't want to spend a lot of time on, in my opinion. They're just, again, they're just meant to be quick tongs for under the power hammer. Say you need to grip something, and it's just a little odd shaped. These are perfect tools for this, perfect tongs for this. Good?
yeah.
All right, we're going to be over at the power hammer.
All right. Adam Robbins says if you think it's bad in Ohio, come to North Carolina.
No thanks, you can have it. So you beat that down to about 3/8 of an inch thick. Then you use a flatter. See it?
Mm-hmm.
Then you turn it. Use that flatter to get your offset. Can they see that?
Yeah.
Voila, you see this?
Uh-huh. Yeah, we can see that good.
So that'll be the boss area. The genius of these, excuse me, is say you want to grip a wider piece of material. You want to start off with these gripping a wider piece of material. Instead of putting your rivet dead center, move your rivet up here. So when you slot punch and drift a hole for your boss to be, your rivet, you just move that up here, punch it in here, and now you automatically got tongs that are that wide. Same thing if you come down real close, now you've got tongs that are holding really thin material. If you put your boss down here. So this broad area here, you can move and adjust where you want your gripping point to be. With the same, basically, feature set of tongs. And we're going to clean this up just a bit.
All right.
With the power hammer. Good enough. Alright, now I'm going to heat this back up and I'm going to draw out the reins. After I forge this a little bit, I'm going to forge this back here a little bit more, flat. And then draw it down. Any questions?
All right, let's see. Curiosity Forge, I've heard those are like frozen flagpoles when they turn all red and stuff. Touch your tongue to it and see if it sticks. We need somebody to test that out.
Hey, you just is that Curiosity Forge?
Yeah.
Hey, you're the one that's curious, buddy. I just want to see it. Send it to ChristCenteredForge@gmail.com. I want to see your reaction. I'll do a reaction video. That's what I'll do. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that guy just did that.
Mark Ringel says, what are you making there?
Making a pair of tongs. So, making a pair of quick power hammer tongs.
Curiosity Forge, if I find a tester, I'll have it up on my channel.
That'll be a popular one.
Mark Ringel asks, do you just make tools?
No, I make art. I make artwork. I make tools for myself. So, I make tools for myself, and when somebody has enough money, I will make them a hammer. Custom hand hammers, or in this case, sledgehammers.
Mega hammers.
But
nope, no sharp pointy things.
nope, no sharp pointy things. I'm not one of those guys. Alright, we're getting hot here.
Alright.
I'm gonna go back and go step out. Make sure you're standing close enough so people can see it.
Alright.
So you can make this as pretty as you want, but that's got good form there. Now we're going to take it somewhere right in here and forge this all out into reins. What's up?
By the way, are these earplugs here?
Here, you can use it.
No, it's okay. I'll just use your plugs.
Okay.
I noticed there's a lot of sound reverberation coming off of that thing when you're forging.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, questions, comments, concerns,
Alright, sure.
hit me up.
Hello, Soccer Dad. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Soccer Dad.
Curiosity Forge says knife makers are truly the nerds of the blacksmithing world.
They can be. They have a tendency to it.
What the Forge Blacksmithing says, a neighbor asked me again for the 10th time to make him a machete again, and I had to tell him I'm not a knife maker.
Yeah. Well, if you're a blacksmith, you ought to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was distracted reading the comments. I didn't tell you the right answer. Yeah, Coffee's Forge. You're now going to be... Oh, I was going to make you a moderator. Looks like all our moderators are gone currently.
Yep.
And I can't change that from here, so... Yeah, I got rid of them.
Somebody being rude?
Yeah, he's gone. Soccer Dad.
Everybody say goodbye! Who was that?
Soccer Dad.
Soccer Dad was being rude or what?
Yeah.
About what?
Inappropriate things.
Oh, okay. Goodbye, Soccer Dad. Glad you're not part of the stream anymore.
Dana Maggiore says, have a good night, everyone.
Dana, good to have you here. And good night.
Adam Robbins says, I guess I'll be a nerd, smiley face.
Hey, it's alright. If you like to do knives, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You won't find no condemnation here. Unless you ask me to make a knife. Then you'll find condemnation very quickly.
Philip Wingo says, I am new.
Good to have you here at the stream. We're almost there. So like I said, these aren't the prettiest tongs in the world, but they'll get you by in a pinch. As long as they grip material, that's the important part. If they grip material and they do the job, then they're tongs, and they work good. So if anybody has interest in building power hammers, want to make your own power hammers, here's my shameless plug for blacksmithpdfs.com, as I'm sure most of you are already aware of. If you're not, that is a great place and a resource to build hammers like the one you see me using here. I've got plans for it available over there on the website. Is that right, Sugar?
That is correct. Blacksmithpdfs.com.
Yep. All right, this is hot, ready to go.
Alrighty.
So in one heat, that does pretty good. So now you can see how you use this flatter tool, not only as a flatter to smooth up stuff, but you can use the top part of it as a fuller, as a bottom fuller. We'll take one more heat on that and draw it out a little more. We'll be done. Any questions?
Let's see. Philip Wingo says, I'm retired and trying to start blacksmithing. Brian Neely says, Roy, could you engrave ban on that 30-pound sledge?
What's that?
Brian Neely says, Roy, could you engrave ban on that 30-pound sledge? The ban hammer?
Yeah.
Braveskin says, oh man, a literal ban hammer would be awesome.
Might do something like that in a gong that we could just whack whenever we ban somebody.
That'd be funny. Brian Neely says, Roy, would you ever consider making a war hammer?
Somebody paid me enough money, yes. It's no different than a regular hammer. I've done hammers for setting survey stakes. So that was an off-the-wall kind of weird thing. So I've done that before, so yeah, I could see it. So I'm not a big, I'm not a real big fantasy kind of guy, fantasy, sci-fi kind of deal. I know anime, people get into that kind of stuff and forging. I'm not really big into any of that. I'm more of a practical person. I do like to make pretty things. But that kind of market space is a pretty hot market space if you can get into it and you enjoy that sort of thing. There's a lot of people out there who just absolutely love things like Marvel comics and videos and anime weaponry and things like that. They just absolutely love it. And if you can cater to that market space, you're in good shape a lot of times. What's up, man? More questions, comments?
Yeah.
Complaints, concerns.
Hammer
All that
Time,
good
New York.
stuff.
He says maybe not on the actual, maybe a little Photoshop action over it. Over a picture of the 30-pounder when it's done.
Yeah.
Curiosity Forge. Oh, I must make myself a 3-pound hammer that resembles the Marvel Comics Manor. John Colley, have a good dinner.
John Colley, thanks for stopping out.
Copernican Maverick has a question for the audience. Does anyone forge a good knife for $50? If you do, you can get with them.
That's a tough sale right there. I'd give you the steel for $50 and point you in the right direction of a channel that can help you make your own knife.
A kit, right?
Yeah, it's a knife making kit. It's a piece of 5160 and roughly plasma cut out to knife shape and directions on how to grind it into a knife. Shape, form. All right, we're good to go.
All right.
You want to head out, please?
Okay.
go.
I can see why you'd want that cam wheel down lower.
Yep.
Give
It
you
kind of
more-
interferes a little bit with some of the forging. But now you guys can see how quickly you can make yourself a pair of tongs if you got a good power hammer and the know-how to do it. That can also be done not as easily, the drawing out stuff, obviously, if you're doing it by hand. But you can see that produces a really nice blank on a pair of tongs in relatively short order. So, what everybody think of that? I don't know how many heats that was. What was 3?
I think so, yeah. County Line Forge says, remember folks, normalizing your tools before heat treating. Don't be a dummy like Ting Ting and rush it. You'll break your punches, lol.
Yep. Just as a quick word of advice, Mr. Ting Ting, if you take, so if you want to normalize your tools and stuff just as a matter of efficiency, do all your rough forging one day. Do all your rough forging one day, and when you do that, say you're making up a bunch of hammer billets, rough forge it, and then bring it up to a heat. Just go ahead and bring it up to a nice big bright heat. Clean it of all of its scale and let it sit off to the side of the fire in the ashes, or the unused coal or something like that. Put it out in the ashes or something of that nature, and then go right on to making your next one, so on and so forth and so on and so forth. And you keep doing that, you won't have as many tools break. So like punches, chisels, stuff like that. You're making a bunch of chisels, it's especially handy. Forge all your pre-forms, bring them up to a high heat, and then just let them cool. Just let them cool, just chuck them off to the side of the fire and start again. If you got a gas forge, I like to lay mine right on top of my gas forge. If you've got a rounded top gas forge, I lay them under the gas forge on some fire brick. If you're doing that, just lay them underneath there and they'll cool real nicely and pretty evenly, and you'll have less problems with that. But yeah, if you forget to normalize some stuff while you're working on it, it can have a higher proneness to cracking at a later date. The other thing is if you keep high carbon tool steel up at high temperatures for really long times, you get a lot of grain growth and like an excessive decarburation going on, and that can cause problems in your heat treat as well later on. So it works to be as efficient as you can. When you're doing it by hand, you know, you're kind of stuck to however many heats it takes, you know, to do it by hand. But you got a nice press over there, make a bunch of dies for it. Let it help you out in those things. So I really like that style tong to be able to do under the power hammer quick. It can be a bit limited in form. As you can tell, it'll lend itself really nice to anything that needs a bolt jaw. You know what I mean? Just like a standard flat jaw tong. It's going to handle up really well for something like that. Rivet tongs, tooling tongs, things like that. That'll work out good for you. Oh, and starting stock size was 12.5 inches of 5/8 inch round, or 16 mil round. So it was 1 foot of 16 mil round bar. Any questions, comments, concerns, complaints?
Sure. Graham Pepper says 3 heats in 10 minutes, 6 pairs per hour, $20 a set, $120 an hour.
Yep, if you want to work that hard, Graham, you're exactly right, my friend. Exactly right. I would say on tongs like that, making them that way, I wouldn't charge any less than $25 or $30 a pair if you're going to make them that way. And, you know, let's be honest, a lot of people are selling them for around $60 a pair for the most part. And so I wouldn't take any less than at least $30 a pair, unless they just don't look that great. They don't look that great. And the more complex they are to make, the higher that price point should be. But yeah, guys who make tooling for a living can definitely make quite a bit of money out of a power hammer or a press. That'll bring me to my next point. The reason why I'm going to upgrade my power hammer, and when I do, I will probably sell off that power hammer. I'll sell it to somebody else, and I'll sell it for probably pretty cheap, just to pay for materials that are going into the new hammer when I do that. But when you're upgrading to a piece of power equipment in your shop, where you see the prices come into play on a lot of the power hammers and how big they are, how expensive they are marketed towards somebody who's doing it for a living as a profession. Because I can make umpteen things under that power hammer there to make it pay for itself. That power hammer paid for itself 3 years ago when I built it. That first year, my cost was completely absorbed 100% in the products that came off that power hammer. The time, the labor savings that it gave me. And so, again, it wasn't cheap though. I built that whole power hammer for $1,200 bucks. About $1,250. I've had a few breakdowns in it that's cost me extra money. So all in total, I've probably got maybe $1,500-1,600 bucks into that hammer. But that is worlds better than $15,000 or $16,000 in a hammer. But the same thing, if you can afford to buy a $15,000 or $16,000 hammer, that's the question: should you? Should you buy one? Mm-hmm. So I think that comes down to, what are you going to use it for, and is it ever going to really pay for itself in your shop? If you're doing this on the weekends, the hobby, you never have any professional aspirations whatsoever, you can buy a way cheaper hammer that'll do anything and everything that you need to do, and you don't need to go out and buy a $20,000 Yang hammer, right? Like, you just don't need it. Because it's an industrial hammer. And sometimes you don't need to buy brand spanking new. You can find them used, or partially wore out and get a big discount. And so you kind of have to assess yourself: do you need a power hammer? Do you need a press in your shop? If it's just because, you're out of shape and can't swing a hammer for 8 hours straight when you want to go out and play, that's just because you're out of shape and you got to work at it. Some people have physical disabilities, and forging wouldn't even be an option unless they had a power hammer of some kind. And so in which case, there's nothing wrong with getting a power hammer. It's going to be kind of your main tool that you're doing in the shop to kind of pursue the craft of blacksmithing. But you do have to make up those decisions. So why am I building a 400-pound hammer when I got a perfectly good hammer right here, other than just wanting a bigger hammer?
Work more efficiently?
Work more efficiently? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. So a bigger hammer has a slower stroke on it, so it's not going to work out tong rings as fast as that hammer just did. So a bigger hammer, it's not going to run as fast. So it's better at bigger materials, bigger billets and things of material, where a small little fast 25-pound little giant's great for anything under 1 inch. So say maybe 3/4 inch material at tops. It's going to be a beautiful hammer. It's going to pull stuff out quick for you. Somewhere at the 25-pound ram weight. I'm building a 400-pound ram weight hammer because the things that I want to engage, I have to overcome the mass of the material that I want to move, plus the tooling. That's why I'm building a much heavier hitting hammer. Not because I want to go out and forge 3.5 inch square bar stock or make another 30-pound hammer ever again. But it takes less heat. It allows me to overcome not only the tooling but the material to be worked at the same time. And that's why I'm building a much larger hammer for the workshop. So this way I can make and design tooling to make my life easier. So it'll make it more efficient. So it'll be worth the $2,000 to $3,000 that I'm going to be putting into building this hammer. But good luck finding a 400-pound ram weight hammer somewhere else.
Right.
For $3,000 or $4,000, you're not going to find that. So, plus, if I build it, I will know how to fabricate and rebuild anything on that hammer as well. so I can do everything in-house in my workshop, which is definitely a huge benefit to home build. Questions?
Hammer Time New York says hydraulic press looked like it did the most work on upsetting, and power hammer is a king for drawing out.
Yeah, and that's only because that press can right now can outpower that power hammer. But when I put a 400-pound power hammer in the shop, the 400-pound power hammer will kick that press's butt any day of the week when it comes to that. But again, not until I build my new press, which will be a 100-ton press. So, in which case the press is going to do a lot better job at moving big, squishy bits of material, for sure. Sometimes it's nice to use the press with drawing dies in it to draw out material very quickly. Push, squeeze out material out into its areas, and then come back over to the power hammer and clean up all those little bumpy, lumpy, bumpy marks. And that makes a pretty quick work of it too. Questions, comments?
Sure.
Roll with them, Jess.
Yeah. Let's see. Curiosity Forge, he was talking about his kirdashis he makes. He says it's normally $100 for the cheapest possible kirdashi. Once you get into Damascus, the price goes up a lot. Coffee's Forge says $50 pays for steel and maybe sandpaper, not for the 6 hours of hand filing or the hours and hours of hand sanding.
So they're all talked about nice.
Yeah, the one person was asking about if anybody had any $50 knives, they're talking about that.
Okay, any others?
Capernaum Maverick, yeah. Autumn Roberts, can't remember the name, but I seen a power hammer for $2,500.
There's some out there. Be careful. Buyer beware. Sometimes a cheap hammer is not actually a cheap hammer. What you'll find end up happening a lot of times is people will really give you something that's not worth the time or effort to put in. You'll have $2,500 on top of your initial investment just getting it back up to snuff to use it. If you're buying a power hammer and it's a mechanical hammer, or any hammer for that matter, you need to try to run it. If it's not in operation, if it's a mechanical hammer, you need to check the gibs in it. You make sure the guides are tight and that there's no play, side-to-side play, or front-to-back play. Try to rotate it, make sure the bearings aren't grinding, or if it's got Babbitt sleeves so they're not wore out, check them out. Make sure there's no up, down, left, right motion in anything. And if it's a good tight hammer, then it's worth your $2,500, probably. You need one. Throw a motor on it.
Hey Tim, I'm glad you made it. He said, did I miss the good stuff?
Tim at Big Dog?
Uh-huh.
Hey Tim, good to have you, buddy. You missed all the good stuff. I'm just done. We forged us 1/2 pair of tongs, 1/2 of a jaw of pair of tongs. Did that this evening. Forged a drift, an H13 drift for my big 30-pound sledgehammer tonight. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
He says, sorry man.
That's alright. Glad you came by anyhow. Took the time to come visit me. What else you got?
Let's see here. Eddie Ken says, what's the temperature?
Hot. Even at night. I don't know what it is in the shop right now. It's pretty spicy, ain't it, hon?
Yeah, it's definitely warm. Curiosity Forge says, I'm enjoying the live stream. This is up there with the Freeze Forge live streams.
The what forge?
The Freeze Forge. Frisk Forge?
Freeze Forge live stream.
Cockatoo Birdman Bill says, what is the size of the cylinder on the hydraulic press?
Don't start me to lying. I want to say it's a 4-inch, 4.5. I might be wrong. Yeah, don't start me lying. I don't know. Let me see here. And it's wore off.
Fair enough.
It's got a 16-inch stroke. I want to estimate it's probably 4-inch. 4.5 inch cylinders.
John Michael, hey guys, running late. Hey, you're catching us on the telling. That's all right.
A lot of people running late this evening.
Yeah. Graham, have a good evening.
Yep, Graham, thank you, buddy.
Or a good morning, I guess,
Good
in Australia.
morning. Thank you for coming out, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah, so those ain't half bad. They'll survive. Really quick to make. Not bad going from that to that.
Yeah. Changed in shape a good bit.
In 3 heats.
Mm-hmm. Pogie Forge works. I'm driving and watching, listening, LOL.
Good. All right. Well, I think I'm done for the evening. I gotta get showered up, ready for tomorrow. So get the shop closed up and everything.
Yeah. We made it to 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 hours and 2 minutes. That's awesome. Thank you all for sticking around as long as you did. Just to talk a little bit more about the live streams and what we'll be doing in them upcoming. So for probably I don't even want to start the line. So I'm going to just say for all intents and purposes, plan on every Friday night for there to be a live stream. Most likely we are not going to be doing Monday night live streams here for the next couple months at least, or at least the next few months. When we do a Friday night live stream, they'll be done in this kind of format. They'll be done on the cell phone. I know it's not as great a quality as what the cameras was, but it is what it is. And they will be centered around whatever I'm working on in the shop. So at this point in time, they will be. I'm planning on finishing up my 8-pound sledgehammer, wrought iron sledgehammer with the steel faces welded in. Unfortunately, I can't bring myself to doing that on just a cell phone cam, so it deserves better cinema quality experience there to watch that go together. So what I will do later, it'll be a few months yet, it probably won't be until after Quad State, I will get back at working on that, but I will do a video series on it. And I will reference the live streams where we forged on it previously. I'll do a little quick video series of putting that thing together the rest of the way. So that way everybody can see how the faces got welded on and yada yada, basically. And then do all the decorative work. As part of my collaboration with Tim over at Big Dog Forge, John Switzer at Black Bear Forge, and David at Work with Nature. So, yep.
Ivy Forge, we still get to see your pretty face no matter the quality, LOL.
Yeah. Yeah. As ugly as it may be, huh?
This time you just can't count all the hairs on his beard.
Yeah, you just can't count all the hairs on the beard. Yep. Yep. So, but yeah, like I said, hope you all stay with us. I'm going to be here in a few days, well, probably in a week or two. I'll be starting back up my filming of my new content and the new content strategy, the way that I'm going with that. And I hope everybody will stick around and like that. We are almost at 25,000 subscribers. Tim over at Big Dog Forge, he just beat us by a hair.
Yeah.
Just beat us by a hair.
I think we'll be there tomorrow, probably.
So, but not a competition or a race or anything like that, but congratulations, Tim. I know I said it in your video on that, but congratulations on reaching 25,000 subscribers. It's pretty awesome. We'll be there within the next day or two ourselves, so that's an awesome little milestone. So hopefully you all will stick with us for our next 1,000 videos. Well, we've got 920 some right now, I think. Over 920 videos on the side of the blacksmithing. I feel pretty, I don't know what the word is for that. I feel pretty awesome about that. I feel pretty proud that we've been able to do that, set my mind to it, and be able to put that much teaching content out on YouTube. I'm pretty proud about that. So we've stuck with it. There hasn't been that I can recall, may have been a few times that we have done any less than one video post a day in the last year and a half. Would you say, hun?
In the last year and a half.
Yeah, and then we amped up with live streams. There's a few where we missed the video post just because, well, we forgot to schedule it or something like that, and it came out much later than was expected. But yeah, I feel quite proud about that. That's a lot of dedication to getting word out there, teaching. If you got a question about it, chances are I've answered it in a video at some point in time. You just kind of have to Google search it on YouTube there. Go to our home page and then search the topic you're interested in, and chances are there's even a playlist on whatever that topic is, except for Kniffs. But
yeah. Big Dog Forge says, thanks guys, you deserve every scrubber. I think you meant subscriber. You've done an awesome job. Every scrubber out there.
Every scrubber. Every scrubber. Cool. But yeah, so I hope you all stick with us for our next 1,000 videos that we're going on. Like I said, we're big milestones coming up. Don't know what we're going to do at 1,000 videos. I want to do something just as something special, some sort of special video when we get to that point. I think that's going to be pretty awesome.
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, but there's going to be a lot of new and interesting content coming. So. What up? She's reading.
Yeah, I was just reading along. Big Dog Forge has got to go. Take care and be safe. God bless.
Yep, God bless you, Big Dog Forge. Thank you for stopping out, Tim. Appreciate you, brother. You take care of yourself. Alright. I've said all I want to say.
Alright.
I'm ready to go get a shower. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the stream. If you did, hit the big like button on your way out.
Yep.
If you didn't, hit the big negative button on the way out. Don't care either way.
If you're new, make sure to stop by next Friday for our next live stream.
Yep. If you're new, step out next Friday. Who knows what I will be forging? Maybe we'll do the other half of those pair of tongs. See if we can make them come out looking anywhere close to like this set is, and size and shape. I've got a lot of other power hammer tooling I got to make, and it may be next live stream we may be actually working on this 30-pound sledgehammer, doing the engraving and the side of it. So, woohoo! Yay for that, right?
Yeah.
So.
County Line Forge, who wants to continue this on my channel?
Well, everybody can go over to County Lines Forge channel. If he wants to work late, that's fine. Let's switch over here.
Alright.
Switch over here so they can say goodbye. They can see somebody's pretty face before they go.
Okay. Yeah, they haven't seen me this
There we go. So, woo!
There, we're in focus.
Crazy hair. It's looking beautiful as always. So,
my hair's gonna proceed.
yeah. So, good night, everybody. Thank you all for stopping in with us. Again, next week we will do a live stream. Yeah, good enough for YouTube. Go get your Cryers merch over at teespring.com. And, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm too tired for a sales pitch. Everyone.
Bye. Good night.